The ruling on the field stands.
We deliver jerseys, funny foam fingers, and everything you need for the game. But what you really get is so much more.
FedEx delivery.
Game day spirit. What we deliver by delivering.
He should be calling in.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Sunny D. Welcome to tonight's show. It is October 4th, 2018. Clint, you want to say hi?
What's going on, good people? You already know. It's your boy Smooth, a.k.a. Clint. What's going on out there?
Yes. We got a great show lined up for y'all today. But just before we get into that, I want to give out some important information. If you're listening right now, you're on blogtalkradios.com/GFTradioshow.com. If you listen to the playback, you're either on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, YouTube. Am I missing anything else? Oh, no. I think I got everything right.
No,
yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to cop some merchandise, go to teespring.com/stores/GFT Radio Show. I do want to get in before we get into the show. I know I talked about the walk that I'm doing on October 14th, just 10 days away. And I just want to say that my goal was $250. I actually reached $264, and that's not even the end of donations. I'm still taking donations and stuff like that, so I haven't got the whole total, but right now we surpassed it. And I can't wait for the walk. Yeah, I cannot wait for the walk. The shirts, I know I ordered some shirts. A couple people ordered some of, not the shirts, we have hoodies for the walk, so, we got those, and the shirts do, the hoodies do say sponsored by GFT Radio, so I will be simultaneously supporting autism, but I also will be, inadvertently supporting our podcast at the same time. Like doing it all.
Promoting.
Yeah, promoting our podcast, in case people want to know.
Yeah. Got to plug it all times.
Yeah, so I really can't wait for the walk. I actually am so surprised at the outcome of what, how quickly I've gotten the donations and the fundraising efforts. So I'm really appreciative of that for those who have either donated online or purchased merchandise or gave me money for the cause. As for one of my many fundraisers that I was doing, I appreciate you guys. So yeah, I'm super excited for this. I can't wait.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I guess we gonna jump right into the topic. I guess Willie will call in and get on the line. I don't know. Maybe he got caught up. I know he's been working late too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week, if you guys listened to the show, we let me give out the number just in case before if you guys want to call in. It's 657-383-1155. When Willie does come on, he will be doing the running our Twitter page at GFT_radio, so you guys can chime in via Twitter. But last week, as I said, if you listened to the podcast, yesterday we had a gentleman call in regarding America. He was a person that was dealing with a disability, and he asked. She suggested that we talk about it. So we after we got that call, after the show was over, and we had our conversation after the fact, we decided that it was definitely appropriate to have a show like this. I know. At work we just did ADA training to kind of get to kind of get a better understanding of ADA and the combinations with in regards to work and people that are having a disability that work in our workforce or any workforce. We just got a synopsis of what ADA was and stuff. So this is like on time to kind of talk about these type of things. So we definitely we talked about different disabilities, but this is like now we're like getting into the grid of it with actual physical disabilities that people face different issues that they deal with, whether it's hard to find a job, they feel no one sympathizes with them, or they're just struggling to get the services that they should get as any other person in America. So we definitely going to be talking about this tonight. As I said, you can call in 657-383-1155. But I do want to say during our ADA training, I actually learned something that I was surprised about because, we went through the prompts at work and they were talking about who do we consider to be disabled. And basically under the ADA law, everybody, they basically said everyone is deemed disabled to a certain extent, whether it's not necessarily physically disabled, but like disabled under the federal law. Because if you had some type of injury or some type of surgery or something that happened and it kind of caused you to be disabled for a period of time, because you could be deemed as disabled going forward. So I thought that was interesting because, you don't think about it like that. They were, they list, of course, like some of the health conditions.
What was some of them? No, exactly. What was some of them?
So they talked about epilepsy, anything that hold on one second. Anything that causes you to that interrupts or causes you to change your daily life functions. So if something as simple as
actually work with a girl who had epilepsy.
Yeah, and of course I suffer from epilepsy, so that to by law I will be considered disabled. They talked about mental disorders, autism. They talked about breathing issues, which would cause you to be disabled. Something as simple as
I know from that
needing glasses. Yeah, something needing glasses or correcting your vision can be seen as a disability. That's just like the broader rising of it. But they kind of wanted it broad because they didn't want, back then they were getting a lot of cases and they were saying that because you weren't like physically, or sometimes if you had like a medicine, they wouldn't consider you disabled, but necessarily under the federal law, you are disabled. It also goes down to people that are wheelchair bound, people that can't really take care of themselves and take care of themselves, like as far as daily living, walking on their own, things like that. So it gets into like the most general things that you wouldn't think are disabilities to the most, the ones that we definitely understand, like people that can't walk on their own. Something as simple as pregnancy is considered a disability. So like you don't think about these things because you just think that this is for a short amount of time, but federal law is you basically be surprised. I mean, like I said, they look at it like as almost everybody in America has some type of disability. So it was just, and that's like the broader of the broad spectrum of it.
Yeah. It's different type of disabilities. Like, people, what you were talking about, some are temporary disability. A lot of people have to go out of work on temporary disability. Or, like at first, when I first got sick, I went out on temporary disability. And when I got better, I was able to go back to work until it regressed some more.
But even still, you still would be considered disabled by law.
That's what I'm saying.
No matter if it was short term or not. Even still, that you had that issue, you still would be considered disabled.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's different levels to it, though. That's what I mean. Like, you feel me? You live it. That's how you're able to go out on disability, because you're legally, verifiably disabled at that particular time. Some of us are permanently disabled. Some people are temporarily disabled. And as far as you talk about ADA compliant, I was working out my job to where when the elevators didn't work or wasn't ADA compliant, the business could get fined or penalized, reprimanded. Like that was a major thing. You had people coming there in wheelchairs every day. I know the elevator was down complaining. It's like, this is a public place. Like, this supposed to be working. Don't got it working. You feel me? Now they calling down to the city hall, trying to get in touch with the mayor and stuff to get that thing up and running, because there's no reason, or, I know the person who used to complain the most, he felt like, they didn't take it serious enough. It wasn't on top of it, and I noticed that's one thing that the caller last week mentioned, what he was alluding to, because he was like, I bet some of y'all jobs, even though he didn't know, don't have ramps for wheelchairs to go up. My job at the time actually does. Willie, he said his does too. So just some jobs.
Yeah, mine's absolutely covered for the state, so of course.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? And some businesses, depending on what type, like you said, for city and state buildings, I think all of them are required to have ramps.
Yeah, but
I'm
even
not sure.
and that's one thing I learned about that too is because whether you're public or private, if you're federally funded, no matter. I think they said that sometimes it was a law where it had to be 15 or more employees. That is out of the question now. If you have any
Okay, for
type of
all businesses.
federal, yeah, so you have any type of
Oh,
federal assistance, like you get any type of help with your business, you definitely have to be in compliance. Because at that point,
okay.
it's a federally funded establishment, so you would definitely have to have that type of have that.
I can
So
dig
that's
it. I can dig it.
yeah, because I thought there
What
was
was
two. It's just like state buildings and stuff like that, and it's way more.
mm, let's get into
Yeah.
I know we wanted to talk about uh the more emotional aspect, or the not the emotional aspect, but more of the how should people who aren't disabled and people who are able bodied, like how should we deal with each other? Because I know some people who are disabled, like they don't want to be treated differently. They don't want to be
Mhm.
looked at as handicapped. You understand? But at the same time, I know with certain disabilities, you have to look at them that way, right? So it's
Mhm.
like always, you know, it's a thin line to I don't want to say use the word pity, but it's a thin line between allowing them to live their life and
Mhm.
to also try to set boundaries on what they can do. Because I know some people who are disabled, they don't want to be held back by boundaries. You feel me?
Or
They
some
don't
of them
want to
use it,
be. Go ahead.
as a like I know we live in the city of Trenton, and it's this one lady that who's she is what we basically would deem as disabled. She has a motor chair. I don't know if you I know you
Yeah.
heard about her client where she basically
Yeah.
disrupts is very disruptive wherever she goes, whether it's on public transportation, like everywhere. And it basically came to a point where she would incite that she was being untreated fairly because of her disability, when she was using it as a baiting mechanism to start an issue, and then
Mhm.
say justify her ill intentions as, oh, you being an XYZ towards me because of my disability. And it was like, no, you're basically I can't think of the term for it right now, but I want to say baiting, but that's not the term I want to use. But basically using it as a ploy to get that attention, and then say, well, you're basically discriminated against me, and several people got it on video. Some people got her behavior on video, so it was like well documented that how she was out in the public, and so after a while you don't really like now when people see her, they don't empathize. They're just like, oh God, here she comes,
Yeah,
and then
and
everybody's like,
and
go ahead.
it's like I know what you mean. Like it's kind of like what the caller did last week, and I think that's where we had a little issue with the caller. When he called in and he wanted us and he spoke about the disabilities, he wanted us to talk about disabilities, and he agreed. When we agreed with him, that was a great idea, and that we will do the show on it. But he kept going on, and when we tried to cut him off, it almost felt like, well, why are you cutting me off? I'm disabled. You need to let me speak. You're treating me unfairly. You understand? That kind of like the situation with the lady you're talking about is like you want us, to hear you, but then like you want to use it as I don't know, as a pity thing as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you should get some extra advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or you should get some extra leeway. And then like when the
Because
call back, it's like because you're disabled, it's like, we supposed to allow you certain, you know what I mean, to get away with certain things or act a certain way just because you're disabled, and it's like it don't work like that. It don't work
you
like
can't
that.
justify your bad actions or your ill intent when people have given you, and like I know for me personally, I'll let Willie jump in a minute, but when when the caller got to that irate kind of behavior, I was hesitant to mute him, and I was hesitant to end the conversation because I didn't want to seem like we were being prejudiced or being rude. Because some people take that, oh, you were being mean to a disabled person, you shouldn't have. That's not right. And it's like, no, we talk about it, we talk about this all the way, we express this all the time. We're an outlet or a platform where we let people voice their opinions. We don't always have to agree, but we have to be mature enough to agree to disagree and not be aggressive, antagonistic about it. Because, like I said, we did allow him to speak, and then it took a turn for the worse. And it was that kind of do I, don't I, hang up because I don't want to be seen like we're being assholes. But at the same time, he can't go on this spew of how he's going right now because it's unjustified. And even though you're disabled, we're not going to allow you to do that. But Willie.
What up, though? It's your boy Willie Styles. How y'all doing?
Hey,
Willie, what's going on, brother?
Oh, not much. So I guess y'all speaking on the caller from last week. I'm content with saying that it was definitely a troll, but even if it was a person with a disability, like you said, you can't treat them to the point of allowing them to disrupt your situation. It's you have to be accommodating in a lot of respects, but that was whatever was happening with that last week was uncalled for. I'm not sure how much y'all have been talking about so far in the show.
We was really just talking about. I use that as an example because we was talking about the relationship between the disabled and the able-bodied, and how much not empathy, but how much leeway can we allow. Now, I mean, Sonny brought up a situation where we had one disabled lady in the city that go around on the little scooter, you feel me? But she's always being disruptive. And I remember at my job we had a couple of disabled people, and we don't want to seem like we're just talking about how some people use their disabilities to try to get over, and try to get extra
like
when you give them an inch, they want to take that extra mile. You feel me? Like, you're like, hold on. Like, we respect the disability, but your disability doesn't, allow you to be extra, to be an asshole, so to speak. Like, and I've dealt with that, working with people, dealing with people who they try to use their disability as a means to get over, and we should let them get away with certain things just because they're disabled. And I just wanted to speak on that for a second.
Oh, okay. Very.
And we had what was the other little talk?
We had talked about how we did get to the point earlier in the beginning of it. We talked about how everyone is considered under federal law as being disabled, and kind of went through a little list of the things that we wouldn't think are we wouldn't think that would be considered a disability or someone being disabled, to the most physical disabilities that people face that deem them to be.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I was reading about was just it was just kind of touching on the fact that disabled, it doesn't always mean physical. There's a lot of people who are facing challenges with there may be their mental health, and may be their
your addiction too.
Addiction. Yep. Intellectual, being able to function in society, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways you can be disabled, and it has an impact or a different. It creates a different situation for you. It's never always cut and dry. So there's so many things that people are facing, and it even touched on being being, aged and elderly, that kind of thing, because that creates, a disability in the fact that you become less mobile. You have challenges when it comes to getting around and being able to take care of yourself, being able to provide yourself with self-care, that kind of thing. So it's important to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I want to give out what exactly is the Americans with Disabilities Act, because for those who are not familiar, the American Disabilities Act became a law in 1990. It was another law prior to that law that was enacted way well back then. I think it's 18 something. I can't remember the exact time, but it was a law back then. But it was so narrow that they had to adjust it, and this is why they came up with the American Disabilities Act. The ADA is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in the areas of public life, including jobs, schools, public transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. The purpose of this law is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. The ADA gives civil rights protections to individuals with disabilities, similar to those provided to individuals based on race, color, sexual orientation, national origin, age, and religion. It guarantees the equal opportunity for individuals with disabilities in public accommodations, employment, transportation, state and local government services, and telecommunications. The ADA is divided into 5 title sections that relate to the areas of public. And now you guys can go through and see the different titles that they have and things, but I did want to go back to what me and Clinton talked about earlier, and it says Title 1 is the employment for practices for private employers with 15 or more employees, state and local governments, employment agencies, labor unions, agents of employers that joint management labor opportunities. So it's basically anybody that kind of deals with the general public. If your business deals with the general public, you have to be mindful that you are accommodating those who have different disabilities that are able to access your establishment and be able to use your establishment, and that there are accommodations for people that may need it, like whether it's for blind people being able to hear instruction, to be able to follow the prompts when they're at their grocery store, like things like that. So you just have to make sure that you're accommodating those people.
Yeah, and I think that was a good law to be put in place, because we don't want people to feel alienated. We want people. We want to have a society to where, those who need help can have access to help and be able to live freely. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah, they need help, but be able to take care of themselves, to be able to have, some self-reliant. Yeah, be able to be self-sufficient, perfect. So, that has a lot to do with, helping them mentally, because, going through it, having a disability, we talk about mental health could be a disability. Yeah, so, going through it emotionally, psychologically, when you have these tools at your disposal and you can be self-sufficient, it not only helps you, it helps society, because now your family or loved ones, they don't got to bear that burden, and they don't got to weigh on them to be able to weigh on you hand and feet all day, every day. You have those, these places have these resources to where,
and a lot of these jobs, a lot of these jobs, I know, everybody knows my son is autistic. Going forward, they have these programs in place that they help these people. So they basically go to these programs that help them find out what they're good at, because, with most autistic people or people that have mental challenges where they can't do certain things, but they're probably excellent at something else. They basically hone those skills. They show you that if you're good at X, Y, Z, we're going to show you how to do, so that way you can have a job that does something that you're amazing at, and make sure that you're able to be self-sufficient. God forbid the person that is your caretaker is no longer living, you're able to maintain without help, and that's basically, like you said, getting you to be self-sufficient, feeling useful, and not. And a lot of people that are disabled, I know, because like I said, my job and what I do, I deal with people that go on medical leave and stuff like that. So, it's one thing when you hear that people are just they feel helpless, they feel useless because they can't do for themselves. And if they had the means to do for themselves, they would do because they feel like they're a burden to loved ones or people that are taking care of them. And you don't understand that how good it feels to, even though despite what your challenges are in life, that you're able to feel like you have done something or you're doing something with your life versus just sitting there and being taken care of. So for those that are able to do jobs and kind of live life to their fullest, to the best of their ability, that's amazing. And it has to give them some type of confidence and self-worth to know that they can still do things and that's one thing we tell people with disabilities, that we want them to know that you are not your disability, you are so much more than that. And if you had the skills and somebody took the time to teach you how to do something for yourself, it gives that self-worth, and it gives you that, because some people, especially with people with disabilities, they some of them can deal with depression, and because they're just going through what they're going through, and it's hard enough to go through what you're going through, and then you can't do. So it gives that confidence. It gives that good ego. It strokes that ego to make you feel like you're worth something. And some people, they need that. And it's not about patronizing them. It's about wanting the better for them.
Right. But I also think that it's about showing the non-disabled that that they have attributes and qualities that are useful and that can be beneficial to the companies or to the community, and being able to make use of. We can only win if we're all working together, right? And the thing is that we missed out on those opportunities if we allow ourselves to think that somebody can't do something just because they have a disability, or just because they don't have the ability to stand on their own, or they don't have the ability to maybe go and run a marathon with everybody else, all that kind of stuff. It's like we have to understand that some people have a different way of doing things, and they may have a different method, or they may, like you said, they may excel at something else differently. I was watching this one video, and it was talking about how just going back to the autism thing, how a lot of people with autism, they're hyper focused, and they have the ability to take care of tasks that most people will miss the little things, the details, because it's so focused on detail. So the detail oriented, there's so many jobs where that's essential, is being detail oriented. But we're missing out on those things because there's people or there's companies who are feeling like they don't want to extend that accommodation, or they don't want to deal with the uncomfortableness of and they may feel uncomfortable with it. But it's like, if you give yourself education and diversity, you may be able to understand and be able to realize it's just as simple to work with somebody who's needs that job or can excel at that job, or be even better than everybody else, that kind of thing. So we're all going to benefit. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think it educates us because when you hear of certain disabilities, you just don't. You can't get past it, or you can't understand anything outside of that, because your exposure to that may be very limited, that you don't understand the uniqueness of the people that are dealing with these type of disabilities, whether it's physical or not. And we almost have to educate ourselves. We should educate ourselves to be more understanding, to be more sensitive. And I don't think most people that have disabilities want you to feel sorry for them. They just want to feel important and included and understood. Not that we'll understand completely, because if we're not in that situation, or never been in that situation, we won't understand. But to kind of empathize without patronizing them or making them feel like, oh, you're disabled, no, you include them and make them feel like they're just like anybody else. So. And I think a lot of people admit that. I know through my experiences with my son, I'm learning like I get in protection mode when it comes to my son. I want to protect him for everybody because people don't. Some people are so oblivious and so clueless and just small-minded that you got, you know, you like on guard all the time. And I feel relief when somebody actually understands and isn't so quick to judge.
Right.
So I think that we have to kind of, as ourselves, be more understanding and, you know, like talk to them like regular people.
It's about education. It's what it is. Yeah. It's about education. It's about understanding, being tolerant, being open to the education. You know, a lot of times, like I said, with the comfort levels, right? You know, and I was like, one thing I was reading about, and I know I've seen it before, is in terms of, you know, how some businesses will you know, pull people who may not look a certain way or may not have a certain you know, presentation. They won't put them in the front lines for the customers to see because they feel like maybe that'll, you know, make the customers uncomfortable. And it's like, you know, you have to understand that they may be able to offer a service or be able to be the great customer service person that you need them to be in order to keep your customers happy.
Exactly. Let
me ask y'all something. What like I said, you know, I've previous jobs, I've worked with, you know, people who had disabilities. With one guy, we worked in the same building, state building, and, you know, he was blind, but he had like a little sales there, and in the building, and he would, you know, he knew where everything was at on the stand. He sold candy, you know, sodas, and he could tell what type of bill you was giving him just by rubbing it.
Yeah.
Give you correct change back and everything. You know, and when I was working with him, I was probably like 19, between the ages of 18 and 20, where I worked there off and on with him. And to me, that amazed me. You know, so at a young age, you know, like I said, you know, there's certain stigmas that, you know, we get from TV or just get from being ignorant to facts. You know, to be quite honest with you, getting your information from other people who may not be as empathetic, you know, or who may be judgmental. So, you know, he removed some of those stigmas from it, like what we're talking about them being able to, like Willie said, offer something that others can't, you know, or offer a unique perspective to other people. And he offered me, what he showed me was that when there's a will, there's a way. You feel me? Ain't no excuses. You understand? And he didn't make no excuses for himself. You know, he wasn't, you know, like I said, he needed his accommodations, but he wasn't looking to be babied.
Exactly.
You know, so that removes those. I guess the question I ask you: what situations have y'all been in, or have y'all ever been in a situation where you had certain stereotypes, stigmas about, you know, the handicap, and how were they removed, or were they removed?
Well, you know, I mean, that was the one thing for me with the autism thing, because when I learned, you know, so much about it, and there was a guy in my job that was autistic. I forgot what it's called, but he was on the Asperger's, and I forgot what it was actually called that he had. But basically, he, you know, it was like his that's a high functioning, right? So he you know, it was like you could tell that he, you know, that he approached things differently. You could tell that he had a different. Sorry, I'm like in a room with a bunch of people. You know, you could tell that he did things a little bit differently. He approached things a little differently. He had a different way about, you know, how he interacted with people, but he was great at his job, and, you know, he was great as a coworker. You know, we got along real well, and you know, learning about, you know, what he was going through and about the challenges he faced growing up. You know, that was one thing, was like I didn't realize sometimes people just don't think when they treat people a certain way, or they keep them, restrict them from things that they could be learning, or restrict them. And that was the one thing that I found interesting too, is that a lot of people don't realize, we're talking about giving people opportunities, but the thing is, before they can even get the opportunities, they got to get the education, and they're getting restricted from education and from opportunities to learn new things because people aren't giving them the proper opportunities to learn, new skills, or giving or having the facilities for them to be able to learn, or to get into the buildings, or to get into the classrooms, or even I was reading this one study that talked about how there's a higher rate of suspensions and expulsions of disabled students because they're treated with more a heavier hand, or they're getting pushed to the back, or they're being put into rooms or classrooms and buildings, and away from everybody else, that kind of thing. Even though they're supposed to be immersed with non-disabled folks as well. So there's so many challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis, and understanding that they have to go through more than we do as non-disabled in order to be successful.
Yeah, but I think from my personal experience, and I will answer your question, Clinton, too, but I just want to reply to what Willie said. And because everybody, well, for most of y'all know, I work for state, and definitely, and crazy enough, one of the main state buildings that deal with employment and stuff like that, like DVR and stuff like that. So there's programs throughout every state that has programs to help people with disabilities have employment. In the school system, there's programs in place, but as you kind of, it's not necessarily, as parents, we have to be advocates for our children. So if your child is a disabled child for any type of disability, you have to advocate. And unfortunately, we have to advocate more. We have to be on top of every aspect of their education. You have to, you can't be a parent of a disabled person or a child and be laxed. You have to make sure your child is getting the services that they're entitled to by state law. If you're not going to address each one, that's why most of the people that was on my Facebook know me. I'm always voicing my opinion, what's going on in my son's school, and I'm always that I'm pretty sure the board of education is tired of hearing from me because I always talk to everybody when something's not right. I'm actually in the process of waiting for his speech to start for the school semester, which should have been started. But as a parent, I'm asking questions to his teacher. I'm always engaged. You have to be engaged 100% of the time, not half-assed. And a lot of people are half-assed people. Or you have a lot of parents that are not proactive, or or are either in denial about the child's or the person's disability, so they don't get them help. Especially if you have like parents in the picture, they should be getting them help. And you'd be surprised how many caretakers or parents or guardians that do not do their due diligence regarding their child or the person that they're in care of. Because there's programs. There's also for adults. If you're an adult person with disabilities, there's programs that work alongside state agencies that are assisting people gaining employment, getting the resources they need, and getting the things that they need to do to progress in daily life. So as a caretaker or a parent or a guardian, you have to be very proactive. So it's not necessarily this other people's issue. The person that's caring for them should make sure that these things are in place and that they're getting done. So you have to, and that end, people have to have accountability to make sure things are getting done. As frustrating as it is, who wants to be a parent that has to fight every way to make sure their child's getting what they have to do? But if it's not happening, you have to fight for it. I've been fighting. My son is in kindergarten. I've been fighting to make sure he has everything he has since pre-K 2 years ago. So you have to be an advocate of those things. But to answer Clint's question about have I come across this, as I said, I work for a state agency. So we have people that have disabilities that work in our building. They're part of our clean crew and stuff like that. We always, well, at least in our area, we always engage them. We talk to them. We make them feel like they're just like us. So we're always talking to them, asking them how was thing. Oh, did you go on vacation? Like we include them. And you'd be surprised because the different ones have different disabilities, but just having somebody to actually genuinely care about what you're doing, asking if you went on vacation, how was your vacation? Did you have fun? Like what did you do? Or show me pictures. Like treating them as if they're just everyday people is is surprising, and it kind of alleviates you feeling any type of way about it, because you have some that have different issues that you have to learn how to deal with them. Not in a bad way, but learn how to approach them, because they have different disabilities that they're standoffish. But just by getting them open and relaxed and calm and being able to talk to you, and sometimes you be amazed to understand what their disability is if they tell you, and then to understand that they're not their disability. They're so much more than that, and that by you just being a kind person, because a lot of people in our building treat them as if, oh, you're just the help, and it's crazy. But to just have a conversation and get to know these people on a personal level you'd be surprised. Like, they have a life just like we do. They go on vacation like we do. They hurt like we do. They lose loved ones like we do. Like, they go through things, and just to be able to sit with other people and have a conversation like they're just regular like us and not feel different it's amazing. And it'll open your eyes as a person that's not necessarily dealing with their struggle to be more empathetic and understanding, and just, see it from a different way. Because you think that somebody with this is probably like this, and they're not. They're just like us.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about too, is to kind of educate people on some other things that disabled folks are going through. I know when we were getting the show idea, it was talking about disabled rights, and I was trying to figure out what that really meant, and I think I sent you guys the article I read. It's the article itself broke down different things that made that made sense once you start putting the things together, in terms of what challenges and what rights are disabled people really trying to push for, that they're really trying to get for themselves. And it doesn't just stop with the ADA. It doesn't just stop with having wheelchair ramps and things like that. There's other things, and one thing that stood out to me was things such as voting rights. Having the privilege of voting is one thing, but it was revealing things such as the fact that there's some facilities that don't have the accommodations that are needed for a person to be able to vote. The voting booths. And I thought about it, I was like, I know for a fact that where I vote at, or where I used to vote at the last city I lived in, they didn't even have a way for you to get in the building without having to go up a flight of stairs and down another flight of stairs. So it was like, if somebody came in that was either in a wheelchair or maybe didn't have the ability to walk long distances, or maybe even unable to walk up a bunch of stairs up and down, that would have become a huge challenge for them. Even like the elderly, being able to go through all of that. I mean, there were some elderly women in there, but they're the type that run marathons. But my thing is that just the simple accommodations that you take for granted, on a day-to-day basis, is things that makes living life more of a challenge, and doing day-to-day things like I said, with the voting, with and then they were talking about in terms of accessibility to the things that you need. So a lot of us drive, or if we don't drive, we may have a job that requires us to have a government issued ID, and they were saying how when you're disabled and you may have either a mental incapacity or a physical incapacity that makes it either challenging or you're unable to drive and things like that, or you may not have just a regular job, you may not have ID. So going to vote becomes a challenge, because now you don't have the ability to show who you are and be able to go on the voter roll. So that becomes a problem as well. Now they're restricted from doing a basic American right, which is to be able to vote, because of the things that they're going through, physically or mentally. So I think a lot of people don't think about those things and think about those challenges that some people may be facing. And then what you were saying earlier about the fact that there's people who just have sicknesses or illnesses that have made them disabled, their own disability. It becomes a financial challenge, and there's a lot of things that they are trying to push for rights wise, like the ACA, the Affordable Health Care, or as some people call it, the Obamacare, and how that was saving them or providing them the ability to have the health care that they need. A lot of people didn't think about that. So many people are thinking about, how much is it costing me? Not realizing there's people out here who have no access to the medicines or to the facilities that they need in order to be taken care of and have their health improved. It's something that is another basic need, that human need that they have, that they're not getting fulfilled because Republicans don't want to don't want to have Obamacare, that kind of thing.
It's just sad because they should be, and you'd be surprised how many people had to fight to even get this type of law enacted. To even this was, I believe this was during the Civil Rights era, where they were trying to just still get people that have disabilities, even trying to get jobs and all this stuff. People, I don't think people and that's one of those things we talked about before, how people don't understand somebody or sympathize with somebody because they're not going through it personally. So you don't understand it because it doesn't necessarily affect you. But then you get caught up in it when after it touches or it hits home for you. And it seems to be some of those, we have disabled veterans that are not getting the care that they need. We have them going to these the veterans hospitals that they're fighting to get care. You see a lot of disabled veterans out on the street homeless because they don't have those things that they should have had. For God's sake, they served our country. They should have these things, but they're still fighting to get help and get health care and get access to the care that they actually need for PTSD and loss of limbs and all these things that they've experienced by trying to protect Americans as a whole. And it's just sad to see that this is ongoing. They're still fighting, and it's I feel with especially just disabled people, period, they need to get the help, access to the care that they need, and they shouldn't have to go through all this. But especially for our veterans, they talk about this with with the Colin Kaepernick and the flag and everything about our vets and our troops and like that. But when it comes to our veterans, we treat them like crap. After they done all they did, they don't have to necessarily. Yeah, once they come back, it's all bets are off. And it's crazy because they, everybody that has, health issues or something as detrimental as a disability, to where it affects their everyday living, should get the help they need. And it's just sad to know that they're still fighting for their right to be having the appropriate care when they need it, and not being on these lists or waiting till they're almost on death's door to get the help that they need. And it shouldn't be that way. And it's just very sad because it shouldn't be.
I was going to bring that up. It shouldn't be like that. Right, I was going to bring that up to some of the substandard healthcare items. My mom is a veteran, and she's disabled as well, and she's always voiced her disdain for some of the services that, even though there may be a service available for them or access to some type of care that they're provided, but then it's substandard, and she was telling me about the things that she was going through with cancer, and how she doesn't have access to good doctors or good facilities and things like that, and the facilities that they have, sometimes they may have built something new, or they may have installed a new clinic somewhere, but they still are rushed through the process. Or the one thing that always gets me is how she feels like they are literally experimenting with her care because she's not given options. She's being told what she needs to do versus being given options. We always hear people say, I got a second opinion, or I got a third opinion, or I went to this facility, or I went to there.
Hey, but veterans have to go to that certain hospital. Yeah, they have to go to that certain facility, correct?
Exactly. Or risk having to pay for it themselves.
Yeah.
If you make a certain amount of money, you don't even have access to it anyways. That's the other thing is that we're forcing people to stay in poverty in order to get their basic life or health care benefits. From the day-to-day process. So it's just a challenge all the way around for them to be able to stay healthy because they're fighting that as well.
That's crazy though.
And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was the violence and the abuse of disabled people. That's another thing that people don't think about. Is that when you're blind or you're deaf or you're unable to move, or you're elderly and you have caretakers and caregivers, or autistic, low functioning, you have the challenge of day-to-day life as it is, but then you have people who are taking advantage of those people, who are physically abusing them, sexually abusing them, raping, beating, all kinds of things, stealing from them. There's so many crimes, and they were saying that the numbers or the percentages are so much higher of abuse and assault of disabled people than able-bodied, and it's mainly because of that, because people who assault them, they say rapists are notorious for preying on disabled people because they may not have the ability to express themselves or to be able to even make a call to get the call for help, that kind of thing, or able to defend themselves. So there's so many things that trap them in that makes it harder for them to defend themselves or to get the help that they need when they're being abused or when they're facing physical violence. And it goes back to the police. They were saying that there's actually a disparaging difference between disabled people getting killed by police than any other group because and that goes for black people as well, because they say that we have a higher percentage of disabled people that are people of color than there are disabled or able-bodied white people. So it's crazy because a lot of that is because of socioeconomic status, because of access to health care, having to work more menial jobs, creating a lot of stress in your body, and then you become disabled later in life. They call it acquired disablement. So there's so many factors that go into that, and it make it a challenge for those people to be able to live or have a quality of life or a standard of living that gives them that the ability to not have the stigma where they become a throwaway citizen, and you have either the police or you have predators that are out there who will treat you as such because they know that nobody's either going to take you seriously or nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
I
definitely feel like. Go ahead, Clint. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I noticed it's even worse for like with kids. I know growing up with kids when I was a child, a lot of the kids that had disabilities or whatever, they were picked on, talked about, and they had no recourse to really defend themselves. Some of them were just talked about. People hit them, physically abused them, So that's a lot of challenges that parents, like Sonny said, have to be active. That parents have to be aware of because, kids are kids. Kids are bad, man. A lot of stuff these kids be into. I remember when I was in elementary, a lot of the crazy stuff that went on. Kids have, kids can be harsh and ruthless to other kids. You feel me?
Yeah,
I've seen it growing up. I see my little brothers and sisters while they're in school experience it, stories they still tell me about. So I know it's nothing new under the sun. So I know that's one thing that, I think as a community, everybody, we we need to get that in check. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because that's right there. That could lead to suicide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all types of them snapping, trying to hurt not only themselves but other people as well.
Yeah.
You know? So I know that's one thing that's real serious.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because I get in, like I said, I get in protective mode. And I just, like, my son is oblivious. He's so oblivious to, like, and that's one thing. Most disabled people can feel to sincerity and your true feelings. So whether you've expressed it or however you express it, they know that you're not a good person. But my son is so, like, oblivious to people treating him unfairly. I snap into protection mode because I know, and I always find myself trying to explain to kids, either older than him or not. Like I remember this one little boy. I had a little function at my house, and it was water guns. My son just loves water, so he's like having the best time of his life. He's just spraying his kid, but he doesn't understand that the kid doesn't want to be sprayed. And as I'm tell my son, I'm also telling the kid he doesn't understand that you don't want to be sprayed. This kid decided to just sit there and completely spray my son for an hour, just kept dumping water on him. And then I got upset. I'm in mommy mode. I damn near yelled at this kid, and, I wanted to hit him, but it's somebody else's kid. I didn't do it. But I was in protection mode because I'm explaining to you what the issue is, that he does not understand. Because at that point, you're basically being a butthole. Because I just explained to you that he doesn't understand. And rather than you realizing that he does not understand, you choose to be, mean with him, but he doesn't acknowledge
how old is that
it.
Kid?
He was he hasn't been either 11 or 12.
Yes,
and my son was 4 at the time. So you're well aware. Even though you don't know what autistic means, I'm telling you that he is developmentally delayed. He has autism. He doesn't understand that you don't want to play. All he knows is that everybody has water guns, and he's it sprays water, and he's excited about that. He doesn't understand. So I know that you don't want to get wet, but if you don't want to get wet, I'll try to keep him away from you. And that's what I was doing, but I guess my son got to him again, and he thought that they were just playing, and the kid was literally just spraying him down. My son was soaked. And I wanted to yell at this kid, and I just said, why? And I said to him, why are you doing that? He said, he's wetting me. And I said, I already told you he doesn't understand. So why would you then just basically pour water all over him? And now my son is he's not aggressive, but if he still feels attacked, he's going to be aggressive. And that's not in his nature, but eventually it's going to be in that protection mode. And if he overreacts with you and, goes above and beyond, now you're mad. But in his defense, he feels he needs to protect himself. And if anybody knows my son, he's not an aggressive kid.
Here's the issue. Here's the issue that arises in situations like that. See, and here's my point. Other kids don't know no better neither.
Yeah.
You feel me? Other kids' disability may be bad parenting. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, other kids may not be raised right. They may not know no better because their parents may be ignorant to situations like this as well. You feel me? Mm-hmm. They parent, you know what I mean? Their parents may not give a flying hoot about your kid. You understand? And that's the issue I'm talking. That's the issue. You know what I mean? That's, you feel me? That need to be addressed. You feel me? I think they need to have, during the school year, I think all students should have, it should be a sensitivity course. You know what I mean? It should be, a class, or even, it doesn't have to be a class, but at some point during the year, at times, they should go over things like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, a situation like you said, these kids will pick on these kids because they don't know no better. They think it's funny. They haven't been raised right themselves. They're handicapped themselves in a way. You feel me?
Right,
and,
right. They're developmentally delayed because of the environment that they're in.
Facts. You know.
Yeah, but I definitely do, and you'd be surprised how much younger kids are more empathetic than versus the older.
Yeah.
Like I've learned that some of the younger kids are more like, oh, and they're more protective. Like when he's around younger kids, they're like more protective of him.
Because they still got that innocence.
The innocence, yeah.
You feel me? That they still got that tinge of innocence in them. But as they get older, like you said, that little boy was 12. Once you start getting up in that age, and you haven't been taught any better, or you've been through something yourself, and you don't know how to deal with that anger, you don't know how to deal with what you're going through, you're going to project that. And you're going to project that on the easiest targets. And who's the easiest targets? The ones that are developmentally slow or physically handicapped or whatever. They always going to get the brunt of it because they're the weakest. You feel me? And it's sad to say it's a survival of the fittest. So, the weak going to prey on the weak. They're not going to prey on the, pick on somebody their own size. They're not going to pick on the tough guy. They're going to go for the weakest link to project their pain. So, like, that's why I feel like in school,
they should be taught.
I feel like that should be addressed. I feel like all parents should because, knock on wood, if I have another child, or knock on wood, my child doesn't have an accident where she becomes physically disabled, now she's being picked on or whatever. You understand? So, like, I avoid people to get involved in a PTA meeting. So where you talk with the school and be like, we need to have some type of program. Some type of program for that situation to be addressed. Because then that when you learn those rules, or when you learn that young, when you get older, that stuff is already instilled in you.
Absolutely.
You understand? So now it makes it easier. As you get older, you already accustomed. You know how to deal with it. You know how to, like you said, everybody has different sensibilities or different disabilities. So your sensibilities have to be different for each person. You know what I mean? So when you talk that when you're young, I feel like when you get older, it makes it easier. It makes society better. You feel me? But because they're not gonna get it. Everybody not gonna get it at home. We know that.
Yeah.
We know this. We can look right out our front doors and you see some of these kids.
Personally, I had to learn that to myself. Like we used to make jokes about people being on a short bus and all that stuff. And you talking about me, I had a horrible stutter when I was a kid. I talked fast. I had seizures. So I had my own problems, but I was still not. I don't want to necessarily say be a bully, but it was like being a butthole, being what kids were, being an asshole. Oh, you on a short bus, you special. Not fully understanding that it could happen to my child, and not even understanding as, like I said, I dealt with it personally. I had seizures every day in class in high school to where I got the nickname the girl that dies in class every day. Like I was having a seizure every day to the point where I was put out of school for a month because I was having them every day and it was disrupting the class. So to be looked upon a certain way and that always have to explain yourself, that, and to educate people, because then they're not understanding that. And like when I was having my seizures, it wasn't the normal shaking that people are used to. It was a whole different type of seizure. So it was kind of hard to explain. And then I remember one point I had to go in class and explain what the hell was going on. My teacher asked me. He was like, "Well, can you talk to the class so that way, if these kids are in the other classes with you, they can tell the teacher that may not know." Like for that 1 year, I had it every day. I had to go to each class and tell them what was happening, and then talk to the class about it. And they asked questions. I felt a little weird, but I knew that after a while, everybody knew what was going on. So if it happened, they knew what to do. But even that, that's high school. But you had some of the people that were assholes that said mean things, and always talked smack here and there, and I had to tolerate that. But like I said, sometimes it takes for you to personally go through things to understand. and like you said, it shouldn't be that way. We should be taught that at a younger age to be more tolerant, or to be at least somewhat understanding of different people's struggles, and not necessarily judge people or make fun of, because it's hard enough to go knowing that something may happen, or you have this disability. Like, I hated going to class. I hated reading out loud. I hated talking because I knew, like, my stutter was so bad it was ridiculous. Like, whereas now you can't. I mean, I have some fits here and there every once in a while when I'm overly excited, but it took a lot of speech therapy. It took a lot for me to get to where I am now. Like, I'm got a podcast. Who would think, if you look at me back in the day, just couldn't even get words out of my mouth because I, and couldn't stop myself. And now, like, you have to learn these things. But back in the day, people used to laugh because it was funny that I couldn't get my words out, or I got stuck on one word and I couldn't even, like, and that was very frustrating to try to say a word and it just wouldn't come out right. And I'd be stuck with duh, and I couldn't get any further. And I could see how it was funny looking going back, but in personally experiencing it, it was embarrassing. So you have to be taught that's, sometimes everybody has different challenges, and you have to work through them, and hopefully that you have people that sympathize and, are willing to help you and not make you feel, some type of way about it.
Feel ashamed about it, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know what I mean, an older dude, like, we're all in our mid-30s or 40s, or you used to feel me, if you at this age and you still acting like an asshole, like, you a lost cause.
Yeah. And nothing to
you
be
feel
done
me,
about
like,
that.
You feel me? Only way you'll change your train of thought if you become handicapped or disabled.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's why I feel like get them young. You know what I mean? Get it in their head early, and it will alleviate a lot of these pressures. These kids that have these disabilities, they don't gotta feel
so
like
relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel me? They can look forward to going to school, because these kids is ruthless. I'm telling you.
Yes, they are.
I'm just sitting here thinking about, some of the kids that had handicaps and we went to school and how we would treat them, how they treat us. Like, I feel bad just thinking back about some of the stuff. Even if I didn't say nothing, just laughing. You feel me? Or not coming to their defense.
Yeah. This is why I'm glad I knew how to fight, because I may have had a bad stutter. I may have had seizures, but if you said something to me, I'd knock your ass out and keep it pushing. Like, this Sharita punch you in the face and knock you out? Sure did. They was talking shit. And like, I was picked on. I was, for God's sakes, I was in high school called Scarecrow. Like, I was bullied, and I started knocking people out. So, sometimes you got to knock motherfuckers out. And
but
not everybody can do
kids,
that, but,
Yeah, majority of these kids with these handicaps, I'm thinking about the ones that just couldn't, that was helpless. That truly couldn't, that was physically or mentally handicapped, and they couldn't help themselves. Feel me? They were scared. You feel me? Well, even if they did fight back, they couldn't win.
Oh, I hated bullies too. I used to knock a couple guys because they was bullying friends.
You feel me? So it's like, damn.
Yeah.
I feel bad for some of these kids. I feel bad. I mean, some adults too. Let's not look. Leave the adults out there. Like Willie said, in these places, in these homes and stuff, they being abused by your workers. And you said you can't look past. Gotta look after them too.
Yeah.
Gotta look after them too.
Yeah, I want to say we're in our after show, guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 11 a week.
Yeah, I didn't even know. We kind of breezed back through this.
All right, let me ask y'all something since we're in the after show.
Yes.
What are y'all thoughts on this Kavanaugh? I want to talk politics real quick.
So my thing is, I've been on the same side as the folks who are saying that, basically we can't have a man in the White House, not White House, in the highest court of the land, in the Supreme Court, can't have one in the White House either, that is being accused of the same things, that we just put a black man in prison for the same kind of time period.
Yeah.
You got 30 years or 25 years or whatever number of years it's been since him and Blasey Ford had that interaction, and you got Commander Cheeto trying to make light of it, trying to make jokes about it, which is horrendous. I mean, for any person to joke about sexual assault is ridiculous, and it's inhumane. I mean, he's a monster. I mean, he's just a utter monster. I don't know how people continue to support this man. But anyway, back to Kavanaugh. He's already been found to be a liar. He was irate in the whole interview or not whatever you call that thing, the confirmation hearing after the testimony by Blasey Ford, by Professor Ford. So it's like you got, a person who's supposed to take a lifetime appointment as a judge that's going to make decisions that affect millions, hundreds of millions of Americans, and you're going to allow this man to get in that position and just, be irate and be, unable to control himself and apparently be
that's Trump Jr.
Yeah, basically. So I think a lot of what's going on is just a telltale of, the disparate, the difference between how we treat white Americans versus how we treat everybody else. White men and old boys is the huge difference of how we treat them versus how we treat everybody else. White women, black women, people of color, everything. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, I personally feel like he's a mini Trump. The fact that he tried to portray that he was just this, what he said, not a Jesuit. I forget what he said he was, but he was like this wholesome kid that never drank and blah blah blah. Now it's coming out that you did drink. You were acting crazy when you were drunk. Like, I think that his demise was that he tried to portray that he was just this perfect Good Samaritan, and everybody's like, no, bitch, you used to get drunk and you used to be acting crazy. And then the allegations came out about the different things that he had done. I definitely feel like he needs to not be a part of our head court. And I get it, how people say that was back in the day, but as Willie said too, to jump on that bandwagon, that you're talking about somebody becoming a judge for the rest of his natural born life, to be able to preside and judge people. You're judging people when you should be judged, and your behavior shows that you should not be a judge. So therefore, you need to find another job. And especially like he said, Bill Cosby went down. I don't feel no empathy about Bill Cosby. He needed to go because of his actions, and I feel like this one needs to go down as well. So I feel no sympathy for this man whatsoever. He needs not to have this job. He needs to. If not jail time, he needs to not be employed. I mean, a lot of people lost within this Me Too movement have lost their job because of the backlash the public gives for people employing in the public sector people like this. So definitely he needs to lose his job and move on with his life, and what I would deem go to jail and do not collect $200 and do not pass go. But
Here's my thing. I don't think it was technically even proved that he raped her. You feel me? It's still he said, she said. My thing about that, I was watching something on CNN, and this white lady had the mediator, and this white lady and this white man. The white lady was Democrat. She said she was 60 years old. The man, he was Republican, probably in his 30s, 40s, or whatever. So, the woman who was a Democrat, she had mentioned about, because they had showed something about Orrin Hatch. and how, I guess some ladies from a Me Too movement or part of the Me Too movement or something was trying to, they actually said it was a pro-choice group or something, and they called him by the elevator, and they were trying to scream on him about, y'all shouldn't, I guess he wanted senators to vote or whatever. So they was like, I shouldn't vote for him, y'all better listen to us. And, he was just dismissing them. He was very dismissive. He even did the hand gesture, how you dismiss somebody when you just wave your hand. And he even told him to grow up. You feel me? And, with the woman there, they all like, you don't do that to us. You don't do that to women. That's not how you talk to a woman. Or what have you. And so the lady was pointing out to how it's making the Republicans look bad when you got these older white men making decisions, and it's really affecting women, and how these older white men, they from the age, I guess that chauvinistic society, that misogynistic society, that's who they represent. And she kept saying old white man. And so the white dude, he was looking, and he was like, you do understand that older people vote more than anybody. Older people are the major people who vote, and especially older white men. Mm-hmm. And y'all keep coming on here every day, and y'all bashing older white men, on older people in general. And it's like, y'all do realize that may cost y'all in the end. And that's the point that all of this really stuck out to me, because I really wasn't looking at it like that. It's like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like these older white dudes, they catching hell, because basically that's who everybody, white women, young younger generation, that's who they basically blaming all the ills in society on. That's who's getting bashed really the most, is older white men, older white men. You feel me? And he was like, y'all do realize, like, y'all are antagonizing these people in the same way. You feel me? Y'all was talking about people, talking about Trump voters, and they turned out in droves for him. He's like, that's the same way they're going to turn out again. He was like, all y'all really doing is just energizing the base. Feel me? Y'all think y'all doing something, but y'all just making these people angry, and then, those people still have younger supporters as well, and they're going to continue to vote for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was looking at it from that perspective and that point of view as well, because somebody had mentioned that before. I can't remember who it was. Somebody had mentioned that to me. But basically, I think that's all the more reason we need to, impress that information upon people who are younger or who are more forward-thinking and more enlightened into the fact that, we can't have that type of society or that type of people running this society, because we have to counter that. You know what I mean? But we also can't sit back and just let them spew this hate and do whatever they want and treat everybody any way they want to be treated. We need people to call them out on their shit. We need them to be able to say, you are doing wrong, you aren't right, you have, crossed the line. And I think that's the thing, is that, there's this fine line, and I think that's what you're kind of pointing out, Clint, is there's this fine line we have to walk, where we can't go too far that we energize this base that would rather see white supremacists in the office, child molesters in the office, racists in the office. They'd rather see that than they rather see, someone who's willing to make a change, a true change in the politics of this nation, or who's willing to actually do something to help the people and not antagonize the people. So I think that it's a very fine line, because you're right. You will, in magnitude and droves bring these people out, and that's what they did. Like you said, they came out, because and that's why they're at these rallies. I mean, you see them every time you see Commander Cheeto on the news doing a rally. They're out there. I mean, there was like he's making jokes about Professor Ford, and right behind him there's hundreds of women with posters up talking about women for Trump.
Like assholes, but go ahead.
Right? But hundreds of women, and this is a cross section of America. This is a cross section of people who live in this country, who, irregardless of what you tell them, they will continue to support this man, his politics, his methods, because those methods speak to their psyche. It speaks to the type of people they are. They were raised with bullies, raised by bullies, raised to be bullies, and they love it, or they were raised in an area where they could care less about the black experience, the Hispanic experience, police brutality, things like that, because they don't go through that. They live in old boy town where they know everybody. Everybody's, family, or everybody's cool, and everybody's, so they don't have those same experiences. Like you said, Clint, that a lot of times it takes them becoming the victim before they realize there's victims out there. And that's the sad part, is that they don't see outside the 2 feet in front of their face. I can't remember what I was watching. It was a TV show or a documentary or something, and it was talking about, the impact of hearing about racism and things that happen, when you go to a store, or like the situation that happened to you. Some people will say, well, that's never happened to me. And it's like, yeah, but just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So
exactly.
And there's so many people who don't realize that there's a world outside of the 5 feet in front of them, and the 3 people that live with them. They don't realize that, and that there's hundreds of millions of people, so many different scenarios, situations, challenges, things that we're going through, that they don't realize, that they have to think with an open mind and accept that there's things that are happening that you just can't fathom, that there's men who can be great fathers, awesome husbands, great in society, the most amazing actors, and still rape women.
Exactly. Hey, well, you better say that.
So,
you better. I feel like I just went to church.
So you have, right? But that's the thing. You have to have people realize there's things out here you will never fathom. You'll never understand, because people are people. People are imperfect. People will do things that when they can get away with them. People will do things. They will lie. They will cheat. They will steal. Brett Kavanaugh's trying to steal the Supreme Court. Commander Cheeto stole the presidency. The white man stole us from our land.
He got that handed that.
Yeah,
he got handed it the presidency.
Well, no, actually, you know what? I take that back. No, I'm gonna take that back. President Trump won. He won a people. He influenced and brought out a people who had never had representation before, and they feel empowered to do what they do, or to bring out what they couldn't bring out before, because they were looked down upon, or they were treated differently, because it was not the status quo. It wasn't PC. Now the things that aren't PC to say, they can say them because their president is saying it. He's empowering a type of people that we don't want, that common sense people don't want to deal with. But there's a people out there who love him, who respect him, and they need him because they empower them to be able to do the things that they do, good or bad, right or wrong. They don't care. So that's the thing. He did win that. I will give him that. He won that part of it. He won the ability to have a guy who like you said, Clint. It wasn't proven. There's no criminal trial. There was no evidence. There was nothing to say that this really happened. It's about people. The woman even said she don't remember everything that happened. But the thing is that something happened. The man has already been proven to be a liar in terms of how he represents himself. And the thing is that he he's taken it to the point, like you said, Sonny, that he tried to paint himself the choir boy. It turned out he was one of the priests.
And you know what? One thing I don't want to, because we talked about this last week as well, and it's propaganda. That's why I'm so, and I don't want to, like, I don't never show by the end, so I'll make this quick too. I never try to influence anybody's vote. That's why I always preach. Like, I'm independent. You feel me? If I feel like the Democrat, whoever's running here is better, I'm going to vote for the Democrat. If I feel like the Republican Party person is better, I'm going to vote for the Republican. If I feel like another person who's running independently or part of another party is better, I'm going to vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with when we get to this stuff like this is, we got to be skeptical of a lot of things and of propaganda as well. Because, we could preach, like the Democrats preach, the Republicans are this, that, and the third. But, at times, they be feeding their base and those on the fringe propaganda as well. And if you're so caught up into, party politics, you would accept that propaganda. You would look past that propaganda, even if you know something funny about it. Like, people knew something was funny with Hillary. Like, y'all knew something was funny with Hillary. But party politics, y'all don't want the Republicans in there. Y'all think that's the easiest way to win. Y'all throw Hillary out there, and it backfire. And that's my one thing about in all of this that I see, and I want the people, to remember this is politics at the end of the day. You feel me? This is politics, and they all grimy. You know what I mean? They're all grimy, so you gotta look at everything and everybody with a side eye. You feel me? Every situation, because everything, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. You understand? Because, it's both, all these dudes and women, a lot of them, the majority of them are out for self.
Mm-hmm.
So when with all this going on, all these scandals, always look at it like, you never know what's real and what's not. You never know what's real and what's not. Never know. Like, even with that, you brought up Bill Cosby, even with situations like that, yeah, we know he's a nasty nigga, but we also know that a lot of those women lied as well.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? A lot of them even admitted to lying. So they just jumping on the bandwagon. So don't put nothing past nobody. Don't put nothing past nobody. You know what I mean? Don't get so caught up and so emotionally invested. Okay, he wrong. Because you don't agree with his politics, or you don't agree with her politics, because that's that slippery slope. Once we go down that slippery slope, you feel me? What's the point?
Right. I mean, what's her name? The scarecrow-looking lady. I can't think of her name. She was on. No, the one that worked for Trump. Conway. Yeah. She was. Yeah, she was saying the same thing, that basically people are making decisions based on politics versus making decisions based on either the situation or the common sense. And that was the first time I ever agreed with her. It's like, okay, she got a point. People will do that, and it's not right, and we have to keep that in mind, that we can't, like you said, fall down that rabbit hole. But anyway, I guess we better wrap this show up.
All right, guys, give out your info.
We already know. Y'all can hit me on my blog, akingstruth.com, and on Twitter, @EastTrittonGroovy, and brand new one, Black Social Media. Hit me on blackjunction.com. You know what I mean? I'm on there.
You got to tell me about that one.
Yeah,
I got to talk about that.
Yeah, we got to start. It's dope. It's dope.
Okay.
We got to start supporting.
So it's your boy Willie Styles. I'm gonna be joining the Black Junction as well soon. Make sure I grab up my at Willie Styles there as well. Catch me at Willie.Styles on Snapchat, WillieStyles.info for all my links.
And of course, it's your favorite girl. I am Sonia_D. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Unreservedly Me is the blog. Check us out on GFTRadioshow.com. Check out all our links on there. Go to our Facebook page, like it. Look us up on YouTube, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, and iTunes. We're there. Alexa, find us. We're there. teespring.com/stores/GFT Radio. Cop y'all merchandise. Thank y'all for listening tonight.
See y'all.